Welcome to Faith Positive Radio with Dr. Joey Fawcett, the Christian business coaching conversation that increases your faith with greater joy at work so you love God and others more. Dr. Joey interviews Christian business professionals just like you to discover their secrets for working faith positive in a negative world. Welcome to Faith Positive Radio with Dr. Joey Fawcett.
You know, Faith Positive Nation, money is one of the most intimate topics that we can talk with each other about. And you just don't run around talking about your money with anyone, right? It has to be someone that you trust, somebody with whom you're intimate, somebody who has a lot of credibility in your eyes. Today's guest is one of those people who gets to talk about not just money, but the things that are important in life to you, the relationships, your possessions, and things like that, and how you can best invest and protect those relationships and those possessions. So Faith Positive Nation, help me welcome to today's podcast my good friend, Cindi Scafide. Cindi, welcome. We're so delighted to have you on Faith Positive Radio.
Oh, thank you, Joey. I appreciate the time and glad to be here with you.
Oh, always glad to be with you. Okay, so if you're listening to the podcast, you can't see this, but if you're watching it on YouTube or on our website or something, Cindi has boxes hanging on her wall. What are the boxes? And it looks like, what does that say? Think outside the box. What's on those boxes?
Those boxes are words. I'm an insurance agent, and I have 3 wonderful team members, and every year we pick a word which we use to define our year. And that comes from a book by another author, and he's just been a great source of inspiration for us. So we enjoy having that as our overriding theme for the year. And then underneath those boxes, you'll see one little box that has the acronym FUN.
I'm all about that.
We do like to have fun, Dr. Joey, but also it stands for the fierce urgency of now. And that really refers to the fact of us in our business really taking action and helping people when they need it.
Yeah, when they need it. And it seems like when they're calling your office, they have a need, because as an insurance agent with a Fortune 50 insurance and financial services company, you get a lot of calls into your office. And so people are not just purchasing policies and things like that, which they're doing, but it's also when the wheels run off, literally or figuratively, right?
Yep.
So how do you as a Christian business person respond in times of crisis like that?
Yeah. Well, I'm going to take one step back first, Dr. Joey. I'll talk about responding in terms of a crisis, but I also just want to talk about how my faith helps me every day in my business. And really what I do every day is I think about the fact that I might be the only positive interaction that a customer has with a person that day. Because when they call my office, I don't know what's going on with them. They're on the phone. Sometimes they come in, or there's an email, sometimes in all caps, sometimes with, like this morning, I got a crying face. A policyholder emailed me and said her husband had passed away. It's just I never know what every day is going to bring. So my faith allows me to really put myself in the customer's shoes. Again, it might be, as I said, the only positive interaction they have. But when the wheels come off, whether it's a car accident, a death in the family, I had a woman lose her engagement ring. She's been married almost 20 years, and she's devastated. She knows that I'm going to give her money to replace it, but I had to listen to the sadness and, kind of go through that with them. So definitely not an automaton. My faith allows me to be a real person with my customers. I think that's what they really like.
Yeah, especially in this day and age where so many products and services are commoditized. It just seems that that's a critical piece in your business today, and that is relationships. So what do you do to prepare yourself for this serendipitous event that comes around every day? Because like I say, you don't get a memo. I mean, it'd be different if the Holy Spirit brought you down and handed you Cindy's agenda for today. And here's what it's going to be. This person's going to call in, her spouse just died. This person's going to have a car accident. But you don't know any of that. So it seems to me that you've got to have some secret in your daily sauce that just really helps you be ready spiritually to handle whatever comes through the door. What do you do?
Don't tell everyone my secret, Dr. Joey.
The secret in sauce.
Prayer every morning. Almost 99 out of 100 days, Dr. Joey. I get up early. We get up at our house at 5 o'clock Eastern Standard Time, so it's early. And I spend anywhere between 30 to 60 minutes in devotions, prayer, journaling, thinking about what went well the day before, what things I might have messed up on. How can I be better? I pray all the time, God, please make me a better person. That sounds really like a tall order, but better can just mean I did less talking and more listening, or I remembered to take all the steps I needed. I'm not perfect, but I love that setting my day with that devotion and prayer and journaling and time with my Bible gives me that peace to deal with 22 miles of DC Metro traffic from my house to the office. And then opening my email, opening the doors, picking up the phone, because you just, like you said, you never know. And if I don't know what it would be like to get a script saying, here's your day, all planned out. Gosh, Dr. Joe, I never thought about it that way. That'd be awesome.
You need to start praying for that.
Not even on a wish list, my friend. Not even on a wish list. Thank you.
Yeah. Oh, well, if we can pray it up for you, we will. But
no, it's fine.
But so many of us, Cindi, did go to work expecting, okay, I'm a Christian. Things need to be smooth. They need to, no rough waters here. Everything. Yeah, I hear from people like that all the time because they're just like, well, I'm a Southerner, so a good Southern word is bumfuzzled. They're just bumfuzzled that, hey, nothing's going the way I thought it would. My plans aren't working out. And I just kind of look at them like, who told you that your plans are going to work out, that things are going to go just right for you? In fact, I hear Jesus saying exactly the opposite. In this world, you're going to have a whole lot of trouble. He's pretty upfront about it. But he says, I have overcome the world. So your prayer and scripture reading every single morning really anchors you in that relationship with Jesus, right? And
it does. And there's times when it doesn't work perfectly. I literally hung up the phone the other day and I was not happy with a decision that the company had made. So I took a little stroll. I put my coat on. I said, I'm going to give myself a little time out. And sometimes I just take a little lap, or sometimes it's more than one lap, or sometimes it's a fresh cup of tea. I don't drink coffee, but I drink tea. But I think just, really, as over the years, I've learned not to take things personally. And I think that's really the biggest thing in our world. Insurance it's becoming more of a commodity. If you watch the news, the top 3 commercials you will watch, the top 2 are beer and insurance, and I don't even mention what the third one is. We can talk about that offline, but it has nothing to do with those 2 things. But people just think that insurance is just something that it doesn't matter who you have it with, or if you have an agent, someone who's going to be there with you. And so for me, keeping it in perspective, but also knowing that I can't help everyone and not everything's going to go my way, but knowing that makes the days surely go a lot smoother.
Oh, it has to. And I love the way that you say your number one prayer thing, or, the prayer priority that you really focus on is to get a little bit better each day.
Absolutely.
Yeah, that's a beautiful thing. So that you, instead of saying something you might regret later to that company representative, you put yourself in timeout, or you put your coat on and you go walk outside, right?
Yeah, because me firing off at someone else, all that's going to do is just transfer my stress to someone else, and then they're going to have a bad day, and then that just makes this big long chain of ugliness and unhappiness. So there's no need for that. So I'd much rather stop myself before it gets to the point where it's unpleasant. So.
Yeah, well, rather than react, which is usually returning like for like, you choose to respond, which means you take a breath, do what we refer to as pray the pause, and then you come back. And just remembering that no response is in itself a response sometimes.
Exactly.
One of the best days of my life was the day I figured out I didn't have to say everything I was thinking, right?
Exactly, yeah.
It made me a better... Yeah, that's right. I don't have to say that. do I? Yeah,
Right.
exactly.
And also sometimes I say to people, like I say, I understand that's how you see it. And it acknowledges their point of view. It doesn't mean that I necessarily have to agree with it, but that can also be very disconcerting. Some people go, well, what do you mean by that? And I'm like, well, that's the way you see it. Here's the way I see it. And we don't have to be in perfect alignment, but it doesn't mean I'm not going to respect you. And I certainly expect that you will respect me. So, I have those expectations and high hopes. I would say 99% of the time it goes that way. Most people are kind and at least polite. Get the stormtroopers once in a while who aren't so kind and polite, but that's okay. They're out there.
I mean, we can disagree agreeably and respect one another. Absolutely. And then follow Christ's command to love one another. We can actually do that. It's amazing in this world today, isn't it?
Yeah. But there's a lot of great people in the world. When I hear people say, oh, everybody out there, all the millennials or every 50-year-old, I'm like, come on, you do not have that big of a paintbrush. You can't paint that big of a stroke. So
that's like an 18-inch roller, right?
Right.
Rolling the whole thing.
Of 20-somethings who are amazing and communicative and call me and email me. So you can't, you can't. I would never operate that way. It's just, I would miss out on too much by those broad strokes.
So how did you learn the value of this morning prayer and scripture reading and the way it feeds you working faith positive each day?
Yeah, I think where it really, it's probably been about 10 years now, but I can't think of exactly what precipitated it, but I'd like to think that it was about a time I took a pretty intensive training course with my company, and the woman who hired me at my company is a very strong Christian. I mean, she has amazing faith, and I was like, wow, do you think I could have some of that? And she's like, there's plenty for everyone. So, sometimes it takes someone else to take you by the hand and lead you and show you that that it is possible. And just, she said, just make this a habit. Just start maybe with 20 minutes. And then as the years have gone by, Dr. Joey, there's like another daily reader and another daily reader in my stack. I think I have 7 or 8 daily readers, and I'm usually working my way through 2 books, regular books that I like to read, and then when I finish them, and journaling. And it's just been a progressive, just a progression where it's really sacred to me. Like when I go on vacation, my friends laugh. They're like, what's in the bag? And I go, oh, that's my book bag. And that has all my readers, because I don't want them on my computer. I want them on my hands. So, but it's my time. It's my time before everybody else needs something from Cindi.
So you found your sales leader attractive in her faith.
Yes. Oh, absolutely.
And you said to yourself, I want that for myself, because you saw the obvious benefits from it. And so you ask her, how do I get that?
Right.
Yeah.
And
wow.
It's amazing that now I want to share that, like, to pass that on, because it's a gift, and you don't have to keep it to yourself.
Yeah. So what are some of the ways you pass it on as an insurance agent?
Yeah. Well, mostly with, mostly the golden rule, going that route, but also how can I help within the legal parameters? I can't pay your bill for you, but
oh, shucks, that's what I want.
To jail. That's really bad. Treating people with kindness and respect, and not passing judgment, and not assuming that someone who comes into my office who's not dressed that well, that doesn't mean that it's a license to treat anyone any less with dignity. I have 3 employees, and I like to model that Christian behavior. We are all Christians, which is interesting because I didn't always have employees who were. And now I'm like, hey, there's a difference here now that we're all, hey, how does this work? So it's been a great, thing. We pray together. We pray for each other. We pray for our customers. It's like, wait a minute, this is really cool. All of a sudden my office is just a little oasis in the world of craziness.
Oh, wow. I love it. Yeah. Well, there's that shared core value of faith and a desire to serve others as if Christ, is in them. And so you're really serving Christ, not people.
Yeah.
Colossians 3:23, right?
I love to serve my employees. I call them my team. I mean, it is my office because my name is on the door, but I couldn't do without them. So
nor would you want to try, right?
No, sir.
Yeah.
They're all gone and I'm here by myself. I remember why I love them so much. I remember. And periodically I do that. I send them all home and I work in here by myself, and it keeps me very humble because it reminds me, I know, look at me, you're looking like I'm crazy, but I will do it
I understand.
times a year just to remind myself how much I do love and appreciate them.
And humility is so important because it's so, I don't know about you, Cindi, but for me, it's so easy to say, start thinking you're all that in a bag of chips. People start thinking you're the real deal and, you're a big deal and all this kind of stuff. But I love that because you proactively create a situation in which you're reminded of how much you interdepend with your team. Yeah. And so when they come back to work after you send them home, you appreciate them.
I do. And I'm very, very excited. On January 1st, it'll be 20 years. I've been an agent with this wonderful.
Wow.
And my office manager's been with me the entire time.
Really?
Taking her, she and I are going to the Dominican Republic for a 5-day trip in January. When it's really cold and snowy, we're going.
Oh, that's beautiful.
It is beautiful, and I'm paying for her, and she and I are going to go, and it's just going to be a wonderful celebration.
That's a great reward for staying with you 20 years, right?
Yeah. She's had to. It's been a road sometimes, I'm sure, for her too. So
really, well, speaking of it being a road, what are some of the challenges that you find yourself facing in your work as an insurance agent and as a Christian?
Yeah, I think the biggest challenge right now is that a lot of folks in the world right now, they don't see the value of having a relationship, whether it's with an insurance agent, a doctor, a teacher, whoever it is. And, trying to show people that there is value to not just an 800 number or an internet IP address, something like that. So I would say those are the biggest challenges. When I started 20 years ago, there was a lot of loyalty. People would never consider switching insurance companies. And now it's everyone's made, my company included, has made it very simple to do that. So sometimes, talking with people and explaining decisions and whether we're going to drop them or increase their premium, there's a lot more servicing that goes into that, and really just, and I've adopted the mantra, and it's some will, some won't, so what, next, because I can't get all whipped up. There's thousands of people who need my help. There's thousands of people I can talk to. So in the DC metropolitan area. So I have to keep it in perspective. I mean, it doesn't mean that there aren't days that I don't go home heavy-hearted when someone has to cancel their policies or had to drop them or they've moved away. I miss them, but I get people who come back too. That's the really cool thing. People who moved back, they're like, oh, you're still there. I'm like, still here. So, and again, just praying for strength and praying for the right words. As I've gotten older, I have adopted I'm not sure. Let me think about it. I want to make sure I give you the right answer instead of, saying things and then trying to retract those words, because that doesn't work as well.
No, then you wind up having to backfill and, what I really meant was this instead of that. And so you lose credibility with your client. And it seems like Jesus said, let your yes be yes and your no be no. So just having the spiritual courage to say, I'm not smart enough to know the answer to that, but I know somebody who is. Can I get back with you?
Sure. And I do that all the time. And people think, oh, you've been doing this for so long. But I can tell you that almost every day I learn something new. And I think that's what makes it exciting, because when Mom was alive, she goes, Cindi, what do you do all day? I go, Mom, I talk on the phone and I help people. And my mom was an immigrant from Germany. She goes, oh, Voss, that sounds so boring. Mom, thanks for your assessment, but it's very exciting. I said, I help people plan their retirement and their lives. And if someone passes away, I have a check for the family. And I fix cars and replace diamond rings. And she goes, all from on the phone? I go, Yeah, I know. She never quite really got it, but she did come out here to visit a few times when she was still alive, and she sit in my office and kind of get a little feel for it. But it's hard to explain.
It is rather magical that you can do all that over the phone, right? I mean,
email.
Or email. You just think about it from her perspective, the amount of change she's seen in her lifetime.
Yeah. He just was like, I don't really get it, but okay, it seems to pay your bills, so it must be good. So.
You're doing it all right.
All right, exactly.
Yeah. Well, responding to that challenge then, again, goes back to your theme of preparing yourself spiritually for each day, isn't it? Because the rapid pace of change, it's not only what are my customers bringing in today, but it's the landscape in which you're doing business, and the intentionality by which you emphasize relationships. And I'm standing here thinking, Cindi, that Jesus' biggest adversary were the scribes and Pharisees and Sadducees, right? And so they were legalistic, let's keep the law and what have you, but Jesus was much more relational. Of course, he fulfilled the law. But what I hear you saying is it's all about relationships, and that's your uniqueness in the marketplace today.
It is.
So your faith takes expression through relationships and the respect and love that you mentioned earlier.
Yeah, absolutely. And I'm blessed with a really good memory. It can be good or bad, Dr. Joey, but for me, I like to think it's good. I'm good. A
blessing and a curse, depending on
remembering things that have happened, people who come in, they love that I remember who they are. I'll talk to them on the phone. I hear a new baby in the background, I'll send a card. I mean, it's not always about trying to sell them something. It's really about celebrating. And I love celebrating with people, my employees, my customers, people in my building. It's just about building those relationships. I don't even advertise anymore. I don't do anything. I get a lot of referrals. I mean, the internet helps, but it's really, people will call me and say, hey, my friend said you're just nice to deal with. And I say, man, that's like the nicest thing best thing you could say.
That's what you
Nobody likes insurance. Yeah. Everybody go to your next party, Dr. Joey, and someone will have a bad insurance story. I want you to go to a party. My goal with my customers is go to a party and say, you know what? I really like my agent. I really like what her company did. I want you to have a good insurance story for your next party. That's always been my goal.
So you're helping people write new stories about insurance and financial services products.
Absolutely. I want people.
That's amazing. And you do it through relationships.
I do.
So are you just by nature a people person? Because somebody in Faith Positive Nation is listening to this saying, oh man, she really loves people. I don't like people. I mean, have you just always been a people person?
Always.
Okay.
Always.
What would you say for the time you're a little girl, you were the one bouncing through the crowd, right? And your mom was trying to pull you back. So what would you say to somebody who's more introverted, who just doesn't like people that much or doesn't need to be? It's not that they're shy; they just don't like people. But they're just really introverted, but yet they understand the value of being Christ through relationships and the respect and love and other things that you're mentioning here. And
you don't have to be. You don't have to be bouncy like I am to convey those deep core feelings of valuing others, of sharing Christ's love through what you're doing. You can be reserved and still be just as loving and positive and helpful. I think as servants of God, we all have our strengths. Mine happens to be, my glass is usually 3/4 full and sometimes overflowing and needs a rag to wipe it up. There are days when, don't get me wrong, there's days when I'm like, Lord, please, I'd like to pull these covers up and let me get up and go. But I don't think you have to be like this. And I think there is this whole movement now that says you have to be bouncy, positive, Tony Robbins, crazy. You don't have to be like me to still be. One of my team members is incredibly effective, way more reserved.
Wow.
There's nobody more dedicated. Nobody who's not going to finish the job and get to the finish line and do the job correctly She doesn't bounce like I do, but everybody has their strengths.
But she still communicates the love of the Spirit and all to the customers.
It is. If you make people feel important and valued and that you're happy they called you, you don't have to be Cindi Scafide, who you are. And I think that love and that care for your customers, it can come out in different ways.
So what are some ways that you make people feel important?
Well, I like to use their names.
Okay.
I think that's super important. I think knowing a little bit about them, remembering, we kind of cheat because we have a beautiful computer. You can type lots of notes in, but I am blessed with a fairly good memory. I think it's just, I send out Thanksgiving cards. I send out birthday cards. When I got that, someone say a customer, her husband passed away. I'm going to go to the funeral. I met with customers 2 weeks ago and I was writing life insurance and they have a new baby and I brought a gift for the baby. I think it's not expensive. It's just the little things and just telling people that, you're more than just a premium payment. And, I don't do it for all 4,000 of my customers, but for a lot of my customers, they know, they know that I care about them. So you can find your own way. You don't have to do it my way, but just find a way to connect with people.
Yeah, but the big takeaway from that is pay attention to what's going on with someone other than yourself.
Absolutely.
Right? Because most of us get so hung up in what's in it for us. So pay attention and then give a Christ-like attention to that. I mean, Jesus was so in tune. Here he is in this huge crowd, people pressing all around him. And the woman who had a hemorrhage for 12 years just reached up and touched him. And he knew that. So what you're really doing is paying attention to the people around you and responding to their needs, letting them know how special they are. And in that way, you're really being Christ to them, aren't you?
Absolutely. Absolutely. And like today in the mail, I get Christmas cards from my customers. They send me cards and pictures of their children and their newsletters. And it's my favorite time of the year. I don't need any gifts. I don't need any tangible things, but to see a picture of a family that I insure. And, over 20 years, I've got children and now they're going into college and, the progression of time. And it's just amazing to see and to just continue to cement those relationships with the next generation.
Oh, yeah. And to build that kind of intimacy, which leads to trust in now the second generation's coming around, right? That is such a powerful statement. To how strongly Christ lives in you and through you and your relationships with your customers.
Absolutely.
Cindi Scafide is an insurance agent in the DC metro area for a Fortune 50 insurance and financial services company. Cindi, if somebody wants to reach out to you, somebody from Faith Positive Nation wants to reach out because they like just talking to you or something or want to email you, what's a great email address for them to use?
Yeah, you can use my personal email address, which is my first initial C, my last name Scafide, SCAFIDE @gmail.com. You can also find me on Facebook and, hit me up there. I'm happy to share anything. I love my job. I love my life, warts and all. So it's my pleasure to help anybody any way I can.
Well, that love for life really, really shows. And by the way, the cscafide@gmail.com is in your episode copy on Cindy's page on getpositive.today. So just flip over there and you can find it. Click on it and send her an email today. Well, Faith Positive Nation always wants to know from our guest, Cindi, about a favorite Bible verse or maybe a favorite Bible passage. Have you got one you can share with us?
Got it right here, Dr.
Oh, sweet. I love it.
And since we have, some people will be watching this on YouTube, they'll appreciate both this. But from Proverbs 16, verse 3, commit to the Lord whatever you do and your plans will succeed.
Wow. Now, why is that such an important verse for you, Cindi?
Because nothing's going to happen without his help. And it's just, I have found that when I turn whatever I want to do, thinking about doing, when I turn it over, I commit it to the Lord, my plan, my life has turned out, I couldn't even imagine how wonderful my life has turned out. So,
wow.
And then the other part of that, just to kind of close again on my positive bouncy note, from Proverbs 16, verse 31, for those of you watching here on YouTube, gray hair is a crown of splendor attained by a righteous life.
That is one of my favorite verses.
I love that.
I do have a little bit right here.
Okay, brother.
I'm looking for the verse that talks about what a virtue baldness is, but I haven't found that verse yet.
Yeah, I'm going to keep looking. I'll let you know if I find it.
Cindi Scafide is a ton of fun. I am blessed to call you friend, and we have for a number of years now. And I just thank God for you, for the wisdom that you shared with Faith Positive Nation today. And I pray God's blessings on you, your incredible husband, that wonderful daughter of yours, and that beautiful 4-year-old granddaughter who hung the moon.
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. Well, thank you so much for having me, Dr. Joey. You are a friend to me indeed, and I'm grateful to God that he has placed you in my life. So thank you.
The pleasure's mine, Cindi. God bless you.
Thanks. Bye-bye.
Thanks for listening to Faith Positive Radio, the Christian business coaching conversation that increases your faith with greater joy at work so you love God and others more. Suggest guests and ask questions when you email Dr. Joey at info@getpositive.today. And be sure to get your free gift of the 5 positive business conversations to have today coaching program at getpositive.today. Until next time, may God bless you with everything your heart can hope for and more than your mind can imagine.